Right, today we're going to change the oil on a 1961 John Deere 2010. There are several drain plugs under this tractor, this being the engine, and farther back you've got one for the transmission, one for the rear. Now we got the oil draining. It's got the old paper element inside this housing. Here on the bottom, I don't know if you can see, the light ain't the greatest. There is a pipe thread plug there and there, and that's to drain out the bottom of your housing, so that when you take the top out, you don't get oil everywhere. So we're going to do that first. You got to get a standard adjustable. A metric won't work on these old John Deeres. You got to get a standard. A metric adjustable wrench is about worthless. I need something to catch it. That won't have a whole lot in it. That's the plug there. Once again, you got to use a standard English adjustable. I've tried to use metric adjustables on these and they just don't seem to work like an English does. Probably that white privilege using the English standards of weights and measures. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, you hear that pop? Spring loaded in there, this nut in the top of this housing. And there's the element. These elements they're John Deere branded, but they are chintzy. I'm not real impressed, to be honest with you. It's an AH1082R. And then this is what the inside of your filter housing base plate looks like. There's a big flat washer there and a smaller one there. Down in here, under this plate, is where there's that drain plug's the big one and the little one's over there. That's pretty gunky. Looks kind of like sludge. I usually warm it up before I change the oil, but that didn't happen today. Down in this groove, there's an O-ring, and I am trying to remember if they send a new one with the filter. I sure hope they do, because that thing gets all squashed out and mashed out from one year to the next. This oil gets changed once a year, whether it needs it or not. And it really doesn't get that many hours of operation in a year. Get a pick and get that O-ring out of there. Let me check the filter box first. See if a new O-ring came with it. That's the filter there. AH1082R. Product of USA. Well, there's a miracle. Does not look like the O-ring came with it, which is a bummer. Oh well. I guess I'm gonna leave that O-ring down in there, and it gives you a nice little filter change card. Affixed to air cleaner. Made and printed in the USA. The filter is made in the USA, and the sticker is made in the USA, which is a miracle these days. It's usually made by Hong Kong Louis. I know, racially insensitive and all that jazz. Okay, you just set your filter in there like that, like such, and you take a rag, and here's the filter housing. I really ought to have some brake cleaner around here to spray this out with. Get it. You see what I mean? It's spring loaded. You push against that plate right there, you can see it. There's a plate up in there. So I guess that's so you don't over tighten it. I don't know. Okay. Get down there till it makes contact. Okay, so when you tighten this, your housing is going to want to spin. If you're reusing your O-ring, you don't want to let it spin like that because it will tear up the O-ring and damage it down in that seat. So we're reusing this O-ring because I didn't send one with this filter. So you get your it looks like this is, oh, I can't see it. It has markings on this wrench. It's 1 inch. Looks like a 1 inch nut up there. You see those markings? I don't know if you can see that. Looks like a 1 inch nut up on top. Not metric, mind you. You don't ever want to use a metric adjustable wrench. They are worthless. Alright, so there's probably a torque spec on that, but I just get it till she's good. And take and put your plugs back in the bottom of your housing. Big one and a little one goes right there. Can be a little bit of a booger to get that. There we go. And these are the same. I just tighten them until they snug up and give them a little bit extra. You can see these are old plugs because they're a little rounded. They're a little rounded on the corners. I know that's not from using there's a GoPro again. I know that's not from using the standard adjustable. Probably somebody tried to use a metric adjustable. Oh, I guess it would help if I turned it in the right direction. Somebody probably tried to use a metric adjustable on this English plug and just ruined it. Like I said, the metric adjustable wrenches, I just can't say enough about how much junk they are. Okay, filter housing's done. New filter's installed. Let me just wipe that off a little bit. This John Deere, right there's the serial number, R11160. It's a pretty neat tractor. Okay, now you put the oil in here. This is one of those ones you unscrew like that and pull out. When you screw that, it squishes out the rubber in that and squeezes it tight on the inside of that bore there. But pull out your they just don't make dipsticks like they used to. Look at that. Look how thick the steel is on that. Dipsticks these days, it's like trying to push a wet noodle up a plank. They don't have any temper to the steel. Not only that, the steel is like 1/4 of an inch. On these old ones, like 1/4 inch piece of steel. Alright, this is done draining. Put the plug back in. Has a little crush washer on there. has a crush washer on there, but it's been crushed every year since 1961. Probably never been replaced, so I think all the crush is out of it. Okay, so the main drain plug is 1 1/8 inches.